Hey neighbors, Kevin here with etrailer, and today I'm going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Gen-Y shock absorbing fifth wheel pin box here on our 2021 Grand Design Reflection fifth wheel trailer. If you've been towing a fifth wheel trailer for a while, you definitely know that a standard pin box is not going to cut it when it comes to ride quality. We get a lot of people in here, weekly just asking us, hey, what kind of pin box thing can I switch out to? Maybe I want to get into an air ride pin box so that way I can really kind of adjust and fine tune my suspension for my pin box so that I can handle all those ride quality issues, whether it's front to back chucking or it's that up and down porpoising movement that you feel as you're starting to drive. With this one in particular, this is not going to be something that you adjust, and it is going to have a break-in period, but after you get past that break-in period, this is going to be one of the more comfortable options for your trailer and truck setup. So this pin box is going to dampen all of that road shock and vibration through torsion technology. And I have a little example here. This is a split in half ball mount piece from Gen-Y, and you can see right here. So essentially, this spot here, 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 and here, we have basically 4 giant openings that are filled with a block that's going to be running through it, and then we're going to have 4 rubber cords that are sitting in there as well. Now, anytime that we're starting to get pressure up on this plate, we get that road shock that's kind of trying to push us up and down, or that vibration, it's going to be fighting against those rubber cords. So it'll start to kind of twist as this lifts up, and then those rubber cords are going to force it right back, so it'll push it right back down. So all of that up and down vibration is getting eaten up by those cords, and instead of actually transferring all the way back into the truck or all the way back into the trailer, and then you have everything in your kitchen or in your bedrooms flying around inside of the trailer when you're hitting those rough roads. All right, so one other piece of cushioning here, if we look at the back, as this starts to force down from the trailer into the fifth wheel hitch, we would have this block right here. So like I said, as this pops up, it's going to end up hitting this block, and that's going to help cushion it and prevent it from being a really hard jarring bump here if we did end up overdoing it or we're hitting like a really big bump in the road. So the best thing about having this torsion technology is there's no maintenance. There's nothing that you have to do. Maybe you just come out here once in a while and hose off your pin box if it's starting to get kind of gunked up, but there's no air spring to take care of. There's no other kind of maintenance that you have to do every so often. It's just ready to go for you every time you need it. The other thing with that is I would probably recommend using a lube plate just to help protect the plate here and your fifth wheel hitch. These just pop right on, and then it's going to create a barrier between the plate or the hitch head on your fifth wheel hitch and then our kingpin plate here. And that's a pretty important thing because these come with a really nice hammered powder coating paint job here, which you can also get a custom paint job if you want. If we get in contact with Gen-Y, they do offer custom paint jobs so that you can match everything up with the aesthetics of your trailer. So like I said, just make sure you pick up one of these. Lube plates are super inexpensive, and it's a nice way to help prevent any kind of damage to your pin box or your fifth wheel hitch. Now there's a few different ways that we have that road shock kind of travel back and forth between our truck and our trailer. So if your truck's running over some bumpy spots, that's where it's going to start pushing that force back onto the trailer, and then stuff can rattle around in the trailer. Now if the trailer is picking that up, maybe it's going over those bumpy spots in the road, a lot of that can really be solved back at your suspension. So that's where you get back at the wheels. You can look into getting either some jounce bumpers, some airbags, or typically what we see here is a lot of people will switch over to some upgraded equalizers. MORryde has some really great options when it comes to that. And then also Roadmaster has the Comfort Ride system, which is going to be a slipper spring box, which is going to isolate your 2 axles, or 3 if you have a triple axle. And then separating those just helps prevent that road shock from just traveling forward and forward and forward until it gets up to your truck. So just because we are dealing with a bit of the road shock here doesn't mean that it's going to fully encompass all of it. So another good thing to look at if you are trying to fix your ride quality, aside from just your pin box, is going to be your trailer's suspension. So keep that in mind if you are dealing with those problems. Now that we've gone over some of the basics that go along with how this pin box actually functions, let's tell you how to figure out how to get the right one. First thing being is the pin box bolt pattern. So we already knew what ours was. It's a 1621. But in case you don't know, maybe the pin box that you had on there doesn't tell you exactly what you have, you're going to want to come and look for this specific sticker here. Lippert puts this on every single one of their chassis, and it's going to have your serial number, your LCI item number, and your RPO number. These 3 numbers can be used to look up exactly what chassis you have, and then it's going to tell us exactly what bolt pattern that you're going to have from that chassis. So that is something that you can use. You can either call into us and we can help you, or you can call into Lippert. Lippert will definitely be able to help you out. They can pull that right up and tell you everything you need to know so that you can pick out the right one. Now, the other thing here is going to be our GVWR. So we'll come over to the driver's side. Typically, there's going to be a sticker right here, which is going to list our GVWR. And then from there, we can sometimes already have our pin weight listed, but we also want to know what our pin weight is. If you do not see that listed, what you can do is you can take that GVWR. So we've got 13,995, and then we'll times that by 0.22 or 22%. And then we'll take that number over to Gen-Y's chart, and that's going to tell us exactly what kind of pin box pin weight we're going to need, because the sizing on those cords and the stiffness of it is essentially going to be the differentiator between each one of these boxes. So you don't want to have one that's going to be too strong, because if it is too stiff, it's not going to be a comfortable ride either. Or if it's just not stiff enough, then it's really not going to be doing much to help you with your ride quality. So make sure that you come and you check this out, and then you look back at Gen-Y's chart to make sure you're matching up to the correct pin weight. So one other thing to consider is if you have a toy hauler, your pin weight can vary quite a bit. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you're actually measuring it and not only going off of that 22%, because pin weight on this can vary such a large amount, whether that toy is in there or not, that it can really push you out of that range that they have on their chart. Now, when you are looking at that chart, the best thing to do is get yourself in the middle of that tongue weight that they have for that range section. Now, if you're right on the edge of one, maybe this is where you need to think about how much you're really loading in there, and then get a measurement of it actually, and then say, hey, you know, I'm really pushing myself to the edge of this range here. Maybe I should just swap up to the next range and then go from there. So just keep that in mind. Just because that is all kind of there in that chart for you doesn't always mean it's going to be the perfect option in every single situation. Another thing to go along with that is properly loading your trailer. If you're not properly loading it with those toys, then that is going to be an issue where it's going to affect your tongue weight quite a bit more than it typically would, and really throw that off. So with all that in mind, let's show you how we get this installed. If this is a case where you aren't going to do this yourself, then you can use our dealer locator. Just enter in your zip code, and you can have somebody else lift this heavy pin box up into place and get it bolted on professionally for you. So there's a little bit of prep work that you're going to want to do before you start to take down your old pin box, because these are pretty heavy. It's not something that just one person can typically just kind of sit there and hold the weight, especially while you're trying to also take out the bolts. So we have our forklift set up with a pallet here. So I'm butted right up against the kingpin here, and I've only got like an inch drop over here at the back. So there won't be some gigantic drop down once we start loosening up all these bolts. Now, it's important to also double check, make sure all your wiring's out of the way. There's nothing else that's going to accidentally get caught once we do drop this down. So the 7-way was all coiled up inside the turret. I pulled that out. I have it sitting aside. And then also our neighbor has a breakaway cable that was magneted to the actual pin box itself. So I moved that up onto our mounting ears. So just double check. It's really easy to forget some little small wires or anything that you might have on there. It'll come flying off once the pin box drops down. So we're looking for anything that's not connected to the mounting ear. Once you have all that stuff cleared up, then we can just start loosening our bolts. In our case, I have a 24mm wrench and socket, and I'm going to pull these out. One thing I am going to do is leave one bolt in on each side. I guess I'll leave the other one since this is already pinching here. Might also be a good idea, have something you can pry up onto. So with the way that I'm sitting here, the kingpin's always going to hit first with my pin box. So as I start pulling these bolts out, it's going to start leaning back, and it's going to pinch our bolts like it's doing right now with this back one. Big pry bar. Be a good help just to kind of unpinch yourself. You can just put it at the back, use it against whatever surface you have to catch that with, and start to lift up on it. Now, if you're doing this with a bunch of people, you're gonna have to have those buddies just lift it up a little bit more so you can slowly do each one. If you are doing it the people way instead of the forklift way, I would loosen each nut off first and then pull all the bolts out at once, so that way you're not having some long overdrawn struggle trying to hold that up while they're trying to take everything off. So I use the pry bar and lift it up from the back. I'm kind of lowering it real slow right now. And as soon as we had those other 4 bolts out, drops right down just due to the weight. So once again, just do one more double check, make sure you don't have anything that's going to catch, and then I'm going to start lowering our forklift here to fully drop this pin box out of the way. One other thing I like to do before we go to put the next one in is just try and scrape off any kind of rust or corrosion that's built up on here with just a wire brush. Doesn't have to be too fancy. Honestly, I wouldn't even recommend really repainting it either, just because the second you put that up there, it's just going to scratch it again and take the paint right back off. Okay, so we have our new pin box set up on here. I did throw some blocks under it at the back side because we have all this weight up front and it's kind of throwing off having a sit straight. So just a couple blocks of wood. I've got myself most of the way lined up. I will probably have to muscle this just a bit more because it looks like we're probably about a ½ inch off. Also probably need to kind of tilt up a little bit because we are leaning down right now. But I'm doing this all with the forklift. Obviously, you're going to have to probably do this with some other people, maybe a couple of jacks. Getting this in here can be a bit of a challenge, so this is definitely a multi-person job. But once we get this up here, we're going to be matching up with the same bolt holes. So when you remove one, it is a little bit easier to figure out exactly which ones you're going to want to use again, just because we have rust spots, we have spots where the paint's missing now, and you can even see, especially on the inside of our mounting gears, there's plenty of paint chipped away to tell us exactly where we need to match back up so that we're keeping with that 1621 bolt pattern. All right, now I'm going to be lifting up using our forklift here. I gotta go real slow though. All right, let me double check. Looks like we are a bit high. Maybe not too bad. So we're right at where we need to be. I just need to kind of tilt up a little bit more and we should be leaning in a bit better. All right, so we've been playing around with this for just a little bit here. It's a little hard to dial it in with the forklift. If you're doing it by hand, it's a little bit easier because then you can all adjust together and get it right. Now, what we want to do is at least get one of our bolts in at the front, typically the top one, because then you can kind of pivot the box back and forth. So like you can see right here, we are angled right now. We're angled real far down. So we actually need to bring the nose of our pin box down a bit. But when we get this first bolt in, which if you're having issues where you can't get it, like we're having right now, I'm slightly off. So what I can do is use a pry bar to help push my pin box. And get us a little bit better lined up here. Looks like we need to come over a bit more. Can get that one in for right now though. Kind of push. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this one in. We're gonna drop this just a bit with our forklift, and that should help us pivot forward enough to where I can get this other one in. Now, like I was saying just a minute ago, getting the top one in gives you that adjustability if you do it on both sides to kind of pivot back and forth. I'm gonna pop one in over on the other side, and we're just gonna start to thread on one of the nuts just so that we don't have it popping out on us. And then I'll lower this again and get it lined up a little bit better. All right, now on the inside, when we're adding on our nut, we want to make sure that we take our conical tooth washer and have those teeth biting into the inside of our pin box here. That's going to help prevent anything from backing out. Tighten down. Grab another bolt. Now for this back one, I am going to have to pivot it quite a bit up, so I'm going to drop down the forklift just a bit more. I am going to get in that second bolt over on the other side though for the front. Now we're going to be doing the same thing at the back. My other side is perfect, so I'm going to grab that side first. And then I might still need to use my pry bar just to kind of pull this side into place. But same thing, slot your bolt in with your flat washer, add on your conical tooth washer, and then that nut. So once you have all 4 of your bolts in on each side, we're going to come back and we'll tighten those down and then torque them as well. Now for some of these, it's going to be impossible to torque on the nut side, so we will be torquing on the head of the bolt, probably at least on this very front lower bolt. If I can get it in there enough for the top one, I am going to do so, but in a lot of cases, some of these pin boxes, they'll kind of have a lip that comes up too far on the back side to where you just really can't get in there and torque on that nut side. So if you do have to go that route, then you can do the bolt head side. It's just really not preferred as much. So with all that said, I'll get these tightened down. All right, so that lip is going to be too much in the way for me to get my torque wrench in there and actually have any room to turn it. So I am torquing from the head of the bolt. Well, that'll do it for our look at and installation of the Gen-Y shock-absorbing 5th wheel pin box here on our 2021 Grand Design Reflection. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right pin box option for your trailer and truck setup, then please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.